I've never found the risk of taking on a challenge more complicated than the risk of not doing something in the first place. And I'm willing to fall on my face and laugh about it.
I personally think what's interesting about Patrick Kirby is that most people experience you at full speed. High energy, quick humor.
You always like this? And I go, you mean awesome? There's a confidence that I think a lot of people see. I probably struggle with imposter syndrome more now than I ever have in my entire career.
But it was this idea that I could be a great fundraiser and use my enthusiasm for good for a whole bunch of people rather than one.
It is to this day the best job that I ever had. That kid was told when he was born he'd never talk or walk. And this organization navigated and facilitated and gave this kid a new lease on what a true meaning of a life is. My tip would be stop expecting it to feel 100% certain, because it will never be that.
Before we talk about fundraising, nonprofits, or leadership, I personally think what's interesting about Patrick Kirby is that most people experience you at full speed, right?
Yes.
High energy, quick humor, big presence in a room. But you know what I think that people don't always see is, the person before the stage, the person before the keynote, before consulting work, before the, optimistic people you associate the optimism of who you are now, right? So I want to start somewhere different, not with what you do, but who you were before any of this worked as the bit, right? So when people meet you today, what do they usually get wrong about you first?
Geez, I think there's a confidence that I think a lot of people see, and I probably struggle with imposter syndrome more now than I ever have in my entire career. And it's weird because I shouldn't. I don't do a great enough job reflecting on the things that have been successful enough.
Right.
So I never think about or proactively engage in my own brain about what I've done well. It's always like, oh my God, how am I in the room? Number one, how did I get this? What am I going to say? Am I going to flare up with some old tendencies that I've been trying to fight back? And so a lot of that is like the mental lift before walking into a room or onto a stage is positioning like, okay, you got this. This has always been a thing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that, or a lot of individuals in general always sort of doubt themselves.
Right.
And so I love it when I can confidently step on the stage and I've already mentally gotten myself into a position where I'm like, okay, well, this is going to happen regardless, and I don't really care about the outcome. It's going to be fun either way. But I think a lot of people just assume I have this all the time, moment of everything's going to be great kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not even close. There's always some sort of doubt in the back on whether I know what I'm doing or not.
Yeah.
Which is annoying, by the way, because I spend an obnoxious amount of time trying to figure out and doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. And then yet I still can't get my brain right all the time just to kind of live, which I think is nice in the end, where it prevents overconfidence, number one. And so I'm methodical about how I want to pace things, and I overanalyze, which makes the product, I think, at the end a lot better, whether it's a speaking gig or whether it's a presentation or an MC job or whatever. All the self-doubt beforehand allows me to sort of methodically pick and choose what path I want to go on to give the best thing that I've said yes to.
Absolutely.
Which is an insane amount of mental gymnastics that I got to go through every single day.
So then who was Patrick Kirby before confidence became part of your, let's say, on-screen identity, or before you could get to that part where you're on screen or in a keynote? Or
I was a firstborn kid, right? So as I kind of look back, I had the expectations to set the tone and the pace. So I think a lot of that is that's over stress as you need as a kid, right? Because I gotta lead my brother and my sister. I gotta be the the firstborn has expectations. I'm trying to figure everything out beforehand. So I think that's a lot of the behind the scenes kind of bit. I think being in theater helped. I think being in choir helped. I think being on stage helped. Like a lot of those things helped kind of bring it out. But you're again going back to the second guessing piece. I'm like, am I doing this right? Should I be doing this? I got to be a leader in this way.
Yeah.
What if this fails miserably? What if I do this? So a lot of the background of where I came from was experimenting on what worked and what didn't, and then a lot of just abysmal failures and getting in trouble. Where my brother then got to, know what not to do.
Yeah.
Advantage my brother. So that's not nice.
Being the younger one, I've definitely experienced a lot of the opposite of what you've experienced growing up as a kid.
Oh, 100%.
For better or worse.
My baby sister, same thing.
Too accurately the same thing.
Very accurate.
Too accurately the same thing. And I mean, going back into that same time zone, right, 15, 20 years, or as you're in high school or early age, going back to that time zone and flipping it to the mirror of who Patrick Kirby is now, what would people maybe find surprising about you?
I am a extrovert introvert. So I put on a great, I pour a lot of my energy and effort into when I'm out of my home, right? So if I walk out that door or I hop on a call or I'm in a coffee meeting, I'm going to give you 180%. Like it's going to be an obnoxious amount of energy and effort. I think the amount of time I need to reset and the amount of time I need to refresh, recharge, and get ready is longer than I think people expect. So there's a lot of quiet, a lot of just sitting and thinking, a lot of processing, a lot of downtime that has to happen in order for me to be Patrick Kirby, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked a lot, I think, over the years on trying not to be performative. I think that's my big issue a long time ago was like, I'm going to do this and this is going to be my bit.
Yeah.
And I think the bit became me, right? So I became almost this
your brand.
bit. That took a lot of mental toil, I think, because, who was I? What was I doing? Is this really kind of a me bit? Right. So thanks, therapy, to kind of work some of that out. But at the end of the day, I think it was very true, but I wasn't giving myself any processing time. And so a lot of it felt forced and exhausting rather than fulfilling. And so I think learning to take quiet time and just being alone, with thoughts, which is totally dangerous because then I got to write a bunch of stuff down because this thing never shuts off. But I think the more surprising piece is how much time I need to recalibrate. So saying no to late evening meetings or times where I would actually just, I'll say yes to a 7:00 meeting or I'll say yes to something after hours or whatever, never worked out well. Because I didn't have enough downtime and sort of family time in order to just sort of recalibrate on what actually mattered. So,
and was that something that you learned through like your choir and theater days in a more performative, structured setting, or is it something that's come with gray hair as time has gone on?
Both. I think having kids and having the patience and needing to be around that was number one. Theater, you know how to turn it on and off. I think that was such a great. Yeah, I think that was such the great. If I'm looking back at my education and my experiences being forced on stage and being in uncomfortable places, geez, that was probably the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The patience was learning when I wasn't turning it off, right? So I'd be home answering emails and doing all of the text messaging or whatever while the kids are out playing in the yard or whatever. And so I'm not present and I'm not being there. That's a hard lesson to learn and be told that you're not doing that by those that are closest to you. Like, hey, you're now becoming obsessive about all this kind of stuff. And you and I know this because we kind of grew up in the same sort of entrepreneurial time frame when we kind of started our own stuff.
Yeah.
Where I love the hustle. And I love going out and like recreating things or creating the process. But when you only think about that and that's what you become, like that is, there's always a moment where you're like, I need to pull back a little bit. And then realizing that if I don't do anything after 5:30 at night or 5 o'clock at night, the world isn't going to end.
Yeah.
But you always constantly think it's going to.
Right.
And I think it goes back to that doubt piece. Like, am I actually doing this entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
thing right? Am I doing anything correctly?
Yeah.
And you're like, I hope I am. And then you realize you're not spending the time. You're not doing the work in order to spend the time doing the things you wanted to do in the first place.
Which is why you did this in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the hard part, is learning that lesson where you're like, okay, crap.
When you said forced on stage, tell me how you got into those performative arts as a younger Patrick Kirby.
I've always been fascinated by. I've always loved musicals and storytelling, and I loved it from the stage, right? So where I was fortunate enough to see a lot of Broadway shows or touring pieces that came through the Twin Cities. And the story arcs there were great. And then having an opportunity to do it in high school and in college, where you can be on stage, you can sort of learn things, which, by the way, is horrible, because that's even worse than waking up in the middle of the night now as an older adult thinking you forgot a math test, is now forgetting lines that you're supposed to be on stage. That's a horrible nightmare that I get to enjoy now.
Right.
That's great. But I think, I think being a part of that and learning the storylines of things and seeing in peaks for storytelling, for example, has helped me in every single capacity whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it forces you to be on stage in order to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which, to have that as an advantage, where people don't feel comfortable getting out of their own house currently, right? Where they're always, everything's going to be keyboard warrior or online. I'm not going to, be face to face.
Right.
And I have always found this to be way more valuable, is understanding that, it's going to be weird and uncomfortable, but nothing bad is going to happen when you get out there. And everybody, and this is that whole man of the arena bit, where I think people really, think of you as like, I could never do that. Well, yeah, you could, but you just haven't done it. You haven't given yourself a chance to be a part of that. And I have always found that to be fascinating, where everyone's got the opportunity to do it. They don't choose to do it. I did, which means I can take advantage of at least knowing how to navigate on stage and what to say and how to be rhythmic when it comes to an audience, or how to write something that will be paid attention to, because you've had Les Mis in your head for the last 28 years. And I remember in high school, I got to see a performance of Les Mis in the Twin Cities, right? So my friend of mine and I got Sunday matinee tickets, and it was like the last row up at one of the historic theaters in Minneapolis. And we go in there, and I've loved Les Mis for a very long time. It's just like one of my favorite musicals. And the show starts, and they do all the announcements of like who's changing roles.
Yeah.
And they announce that the character of Jean Valjean is going to be done by the guy who originally played him on Broadway. And he was gearing up for a Broadway run in Toronto. Wow. So Toronto, but he was using Minneapolis as a refresh.
Yeah.
So I got to watch this on stage, and I'm in awe. I'm crying at the age of like 17. I'm like, the theater. I'm like the nerdiest theater kid of all time. And I go, if that guy can do it, right? And I'm watching everybody around us, like kind of it dawning on them that they're going to see royalty in this, on this stage kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's an addictive thing that I need to get more of too. And then again, you do that. You get on stage, you perform, you get the applause. It goes back to your, like, is that where your performative stuff is? Yeah, that's actually what it is. It is the adrenaline rush of you doing a great performance or great something.
Right.
I can see musicians getting this all the time.
Totally.
You're going to dive into that, or whatever, speakers on stage, or writing, or even doing film or something like that, where you put out a product that's really great and you get lauded for it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
I want that. Give me that. Inject that into my veins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you obviously spend, I would call it an insane amount of time helping organizations believe in themselves, ultimately, is maybe what you really do the most. But maybe flipping that a little bit, when did you maybe first struggle to believe in yourself? And I know we already talked a little bit about the imposter syndrome, but maybe, as you made that jump into your own thing, when were some of those thoughts or moments that had happened of just, I don't know, maybe come up like that?
Yeah. I think a lot of it and I find myself almost being an amateur therapist with a lot of nonprofits that I work
Sure.
with, right? So I think I love championing a lot of these groups that probably don't believe themselves. And I love them more than they love themselves at some points.
Yeah.
And I find that incredibly frustrating. And I got to always think back to like, when did I not have this sort of moment? And it was in a transition where I've always been in fundraising in some sort of sense, right? So I did, fundraising in high school. I did a lot in college, out of college, fundraised to run for office. And then I, you went right into my old high school to do some fundraising piece. But there's a brief moment after I wanted to explore something else. So I became like a sales rep for like Target and Best Buy. And
Sure.
it was a brief moment of utter failure where I'm like, I do not belong in this realm. I'm not crunching numbers. I don't want to get yelled at in Chinese and English for shipping issues. Like there's some problems with that. And then took my, what I thought was a great skill set of being a people person in trying to recruit people for like healthcare jobs. And I remember this where I got fed up and I'm like, I can't do that. It was the worst job I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Everybody there sucked. It was like the worst thing in the entire world. They actually had this training regiment where you would get hired and then you'd spend like a week watching training videos with a guy who was like trying to help you close deals.
Sure.
I'm 90% sure that dude was like recording himself high on cocaine because he was like, hey, you gotta get in there and close some deals. And I was like, what is this? And I'm a newbie into this whole world. And I'll use the name. It's Northland Employment Services was the group, right?
Okay.
And the reason I say that out loud is because they had a term called the Northland Lunch. And I was like, what on earth is that? It's like, well, at the first day of training, where you watch all these insane videos with a guy, I mean, he's in a white shirt sweating, just trying to like convince you to close deals. And it had nothing to do with recruiting. It was just all like an insane VHS recording of him doing sales trainings. I'm not sure where they got this tape, but anyway, it was so brutal that you would go to lunch and most of the people wouldn't come back. And they're like, you survived the Northland lunch. And I was like, it's so bad they just left after lunch. Anyway, so I'm like, now I'm stubborn and I'm like, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to become a really great healthcare recruiter. And then I realized what the job was and just dialing up numbers and just doing this. So anyway, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I quit and I went to my boss at the time. I said, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, that's good because you suck at this. You're awful. Like nobody wants you around here. This is like the worst job ever. I'm like, I'm surprised you stayed. Like, I'm like, oh, so there's no empathy. There's nothing. There's no understanding. I don't get any like feedback other than I suck. And I walked out the door and I was like, that is, I will never do that absolutely again. So I take my skills, I go to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and I'm doing fairly well. We have the best years that we've ever had from a fundraising standpoint. And I remember doing a gala really well. And we raised $1 million. It's the first time that we've ever raised $1 million. It was like the third largest gala in the Twin Cities at the time.
For
like
sure.
we were crushing. And I remember having a wrap-up meeting at that Monday where we're still like event hangover and we're just joyous and giddy. We still don't have our voices for yelling and having a couple of post-event cocktails.
Nice.
And we come into our meeting on Monday morning and our boss, who was butthurt from not getting all the praise that we got from putting this event together, sat there with her arms crossed and she, what else would you need to do? What else would we do? Never congratulations, never. It was all like, what went wrong? What was this?
Yeah.
And those two experiences that at least I had on a professional level, knowing where people are giving it their all or they're trying their best and they don't have a support mechanism and they feel all alone, really instilled me. And I'm like, I'm never going to allow anyone in my circle to feel abandoned in that place again.
Yeah.
And those two proper experiences of like, what else? When we just raised $1 million, there's nothing else. We don't need to do anything else. We did the else, right?
Right.
And then you suck, and everything about you sucks, and you should leave here right now, and we're a better place for you when you're gone. I'm never gonna get that time back from me, wasting it without praise or whatever. But it set the table for me having an empathy level for people who are giving it their all with not being supported, and I can come back now and I can go, okay. I remember what it was like being in your chair.
Right.
I understand where your brain is at. You're thinking that you can't do any of this stuff the way that I did.
Right.
I'm going to focus in between your ears first.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that you're pretty, And I'm going to tell you that you can do this, and I'm
Right.
going to give you all the reasons why, and now we're going to dive into how you solve them.
Right.
But I think giving people that space and that time to understand that they're not doing a bad job, they
Yeah.
just don't know the formula because nobody's been a supportive character
Yeah.
for them. I think that's where I have always come from. I take that, toil and torment of
Yeah.
me looking at
The
things
Northland
of whatever,
trainings.
and I'm going to go back and I'm going to give it tenfold. So, amateur therapist, indeed, is how I kind of like to roll.
So then bridging a little bit from that, obviously there's more to it than just listening to them, right? But at what point in this journey, right? Maybe the what is it, like a little bit over like half a decade or so, maybe since it's really
almost
been
like 8 years now.
yeah,
I
8
know.
years, almost a decade. Never mind. At what point in the last almost decade do you realize your personality, your humor, your energy, what was the advantage or was really formally like, this is working. I see this working. I'm really good at everything else, but this is really a differentiator in my bit. When did that happen?
I think you can go on the internet and you can read anything you want about how to do fundraising or how to do your game planning.
Right.
You can chat GPT it now.
Yeah.
Back in the day before that, you could Google it and find some sort of article. You could read 1.5 million books that are very technical, written by ivory tower individuals on the coasts, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. No one can apply it and no one believes they can do it until you have someone sort of navigate with you. And I realized that everybody was so passionate about what they were trying to fundraise for, or whatever organization they were trying to fundraise for. And they, when they're beaten down, they need a cheerleader as much as they do a tactical strategist.
Right.
So anyone can give them a strategy, but no one can make them feel as if they can actually accomplish it. And I was like, oh, I got you. I got you, boo. So my lean in was after a series of trainings. And it started really out of the gate where I did a thank you training here in town.
Yeah.
Started off with just writing a thank you note. And you think like nobody's going to show up to a thank you note writing
Like
seminar.
obviously, we all know how to do that, right?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And nobody does it. And
Yeah.
so people showed up and the feedback started coming in like, I just needed someone to tell me that I was doing something right in a way that made me feel as if I could go run through a wall. And then you're the first person that made me realize that. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe my superpower is not necessarily in the tactics that I've learned over the last 12 years. That's everybody's bit. But if they don't believe it or they don't think that they can accomplish it and you don't have the cheerleading ability to get you from point A to point B, because at some point in time, you're going to get monotonous, unsexy things on the job front, especially when you're in nonprofit work.
Yeah.
The only way to push through that is if you have somebody who's rah-rah cheerleader.
Yeah.
And so I go, okay, so if I can laugh about how ridiculous this job is, if I can cheerlead the hell out of you louder than you're going to do that yourself, if I'm going to be the happy warrior that comes to work and I'm going to encourage and lead you to do this, and you get your job done that way and it's going to be an easier road, good, I'm going to lean into it. Right. And I just went for it. And I think part of this too is the audacity of not caring about, like, I don't have to worry about a board of directors that I have to report to. And I can say things out of the box that aren't going to get me, canceled at my own job because I'm the one that gets to make all the decisions. And so the freeing ability to say things that maybe people wouldn't expect me to say, or my bemoaning of some sacred cows that people have done for years. I'm in a position where I can say that.
Yeah.
And not a lot of other people are.
Right.
And so I'm saying out loud what they're thinking the entire time. And they're like, oh geez, okay, now I need a little bit more of that Patrick Kirby in my life because I can say that in front of boards, or I can say that in front of their executive directors.
Yeah.
And it doesn't reflect poorly on me. I'm just relaying back what my experiences has been. And it doesn't fall on the shoulders, or it doesn't fall onto the mental load of the ones that I'm working with. I get to shoulder that. And because I don't shoulder any of the feedback, because I don't really care in that sense, because I know it's to be true, even though it might hurt your feelings about what you've been doing the entire time, so be it. And I feel like that's a superpower that I have leaned into a lot, and I'm going to do it with a smile because I believe in you or organization more than you do anyway.
Right.
So you can't get mad at me for pointing out something that's completely wrong and that I find, abhorrent or whatever.
Right.
So you're like, oh, I love that.
Absolutely.
Great. good. I'm going to do it with a smile. I'm going to do it with
Yeah.
enthusiasm, and I'm going to go hold your hand the entire time too.
And that's what you get paid to do, and that's what you're the best at. So
I
if
do
you're
my
not
best.
as honest, then obviously we experienced Patrick Kirby, right? And I think spontaneous high energy, and we know that there's a structure behind it now,
Yeah.
right? And we established that. When you look at that structure, what kind of like internalized standards are you holding for yourself on a day-to-day or when it comes to your work and the bottom line? Because your metrics are measured in so many different ways in what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting. The KPIs that we have to measure for business success are like, all right, we getting clients, we making money. Okay, great. I still hold this high eye on the disc score bit that I took years ago.
Yeah.
That I need validation that what we're doing is okay. People are still buying into the whole bit. As much as I fight it, I just need like someone else to tell me I'm doing a good job at least once. And so my standard is like, am I doing, but my reaction is, do you feel more confident working with me? Do you feel a little bit more energetic if you're working with me? Or am I empowering you to make decisions rather than you listening to me and doing stuff? Like how I talk a lot. Weird.
It's unheard of. It's new for me.
It's weird. I do that. Yeah. So my standards have become how much more listening and how many more questions am I asking rather than giving the answers.
Totally.
So the growth that I have tried to do is be more curious in general, ask questions that they, whom I'm working with or potentially working with, start figuring out themselves, but I'm just prompting and shepherding them to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Where now I get to help them navigate rather than dictate.
Right.
And I think that's the standard that I now hold to myself is I am going to force myself to get to know what their pain point is, number one. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions to help them get to the answer that they know they need to get to. And then I can backfill with the process that had been proven over the last 20 years of me doing this.
Yeah.
But instead, that's grown from, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what you need to do, whatever.
A little bit deep in the funnel.
Which is great.
Yes.
And people are looking for that. But it doesn't help them in the long term if I leave, right? So we've ended a contract, or we've outgrown each other, or it just naturally where our contracts are over. They're going to be screwed because they don't have someone navigating that.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion very quickly that my whole goal is for people not to need me anymore. Which is a bad business plan up front, but it's a great, I think it allows me to then go like a locust to another organization and kind of help them too. And I understand that when I leave, they're in good hands.
Right.
And I didn't realize that out of the gate. And so my maturity, I think, as a business owner in this little space is allowing me to be okay letting them go and pushing them out of their nest like a little birdie, rather than dictating, like, you fly like this, you flap your wings like this, and then you land like this. It's having them figure it out and me just kind of making sure that they don't, I'm the guardrails against them collapsing. In a horrible
you're letting
fashion.
bounce around a little bit, but
which is great. And then I get to see them believe in themselves. And so what then I believed out of the gate when we first started working with them, they now believe at the end. And I go, there's my now new KPI. And my worth as a consultant is seeing them believe as much as I do about where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And now I get sweet relief when I'm done with the contract, because I know they're going to be A-okay. And then they're going to text me and call me and let me know how that went anyway. So that's even better.
Looking at yourself, right? I mean, we talked about the last 8 years and the way that you've maybe been able to balance this like super high level emotional navigation, super down in the funnel, deep logistics and process people orientation and all those things. I'm curious to know what are some of the individual habits that you carry that we've talked about, a little bit of your own balance and extroverted, introvert, but what are some of those things other than just kind of taking a moment to be quiet or silent? What are those things that keep Patrick Kirby going?
I think knowing when my brain is best. So I know that all my mental output is probably best in the morning. So anything I need to do creatively, I know I can do before noon. And then afterwards, I need to either set meetings that are going to either spark curiosity or interest, or I don't don't do any decision making in the afternoon. So I ritually wake up early and just like do a workout in the morning.
What's early for you?
4:35 a.m.
Okay.
Which again, that sounds like every like influencer like
Yeah,
wake up
Mark
every morning.
Wahlberg,
But
go
when
to
you've
bed.
got kids, you need to get them off to school. The only time that you have in between
that
activities
time.
or whatever is either late at night, which I need that to mentally come
Relax.
down, or it's in the morning. So it's beneficial that I have the ability to not sleep a lot. Like I can go on very little sleep, and that's how I've been done for eons. It's my reset time in the morning to get all of my thoughts out. So either I think to myself or talk to myself on a treadmill or whatever, or throwing around moderately heavy weights. I'm old, and so I can't do it as many. But so my ritual is let's get it done in the morning, get that all ready, pot of coffee, let's write and get my brain, rocking and rolling until 1, 2 in the afternoon, shut off, do any busy work with meetings that I need to have that I don't need a lot of brain space for, and then I can come down at night. So, but my ritual is that, and it's boring. It is so boring. And I think in that boredom, that rhythm is where I think I find the best outcome.
Yeah.
And I think I for a long time thought if I'm not out in public square, if I'm not doing all the things, if I'm not on socials in every corner, I'm not doing right. I chased vanity metrics more than most humans did.
Yeah.
To my detriment, I think.
Yeah.
Because I gave all my value to how many likes and comments and shares and posts.
Yeah.
God almighty, I wish I had that back. I mean, I don't wish I had that back because I think that's a learning process in general.
Right.
But that I gave a lot of energy and effort into that, knowing now that just consistency is going to get you there the entire time. I wouldn't take any of it back.
Yeah.
But God, I wasted a lot of time trying to chase things that didn't really matter. Which is,
you live and learn.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I had some really good likes.
Yeah. When you high capacity driven person, when you're trying to get these thoughts out, like I'm curious, do you like talk to ChatGPT or do you type? How do you get your thoughts out?
I talk all the time. Yeah. I can't type fast enough for my brain to like.
That's a surprise.
Isn't that weird? I talk. And so when I wrote my first book, I typed out the first 2 or 3 chapters.
Like typed.
Just typed. And I said, all right, I'm going to get this book written. I have this game plan. It's going to sound great. And I sent it to a friend of mine who had published a couple of books. And I said, hey, would you mind just taking a gander at this? Am I on the right track? Does this sound like a book that you would read, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was pretty good. It was good information.
Yeah, good enough.
And I got an email back from him and my question was, does this sound like I have something there? Like that was my email. I said, just read it and whatever. And his return email was, well, you sound like an asshole. And I was like, what? What is that about? And he goes, you sound like everybody that you've been railing against for years, and you are trying to be that.
Blend that.
And I go, well, how on earth do I fix that? I don't know how to write any
typed
different.
It myself. What do you mean?
And he goes, take that entire draft, crumple it up, throw it away, and then just dictate it. And this was before like transcription stuff. So I had to like
didn't have
actually
that true ability.
So I recorded it, listened to it back, and then typed it. And that was the voice that I learned how to navigate. So I do everything in voice now because I will go off on 1.5 million different tangents. Weird. And I'll try to circle back to whatever I was trying to get to. And in that in that weird path that I'm writing, there's a lot of different branches of like, oh, I should maybe talk about this little bit later. Yeah. And I don't realize that writing because I want that to be very formulaic, linear, and I'm trying to force myself into a box where I just need to get all the things out of my brain. And if I don't, then that's how I don't go to bed. Because I haven't gotten all the things out of my in between my 2 ears out. So I spend a lot of time talking to myself. And I love the fact that you can now you have to drive a car. You can't be on your phone anymore. because now I can talk to myself and record in the car, and it doesn't seem like I don't have to pull up to somebody at a stoplight and they think I'm an insane person. They just think I'm on a call.
Yeah.
But really, I'm just recording random thoughts into my brain or into my phone or whatever.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Technology.
thank you, technology, and thank you, rules that allow me to not look like a crazy person. Or I do,
Yeah, you
but I'm
probably
not
still
crazy
do look
there.
a little
Yeah.
weird. Thinking back to the crazy sweaty sales training you went through and the terrible headset, probably in a room of 100 cubicles doing, medical sales and other sales.
The worst, by the way.
And you obviously have a wonderful family now and you impact so many people's lives. But like where does like that discipline and I mean, motivation is fleeting, right? But where does that drive come from truly beyond the performative side, which we already talked about? Like what else drives Patrick Kirby to hustle in a sustainable way now? Right.
I watched my dad start his own business. So my dad was a sales rep. Like we would go on vacations, and everywhere we would go into an airport, he would know somebody.
Sure.
Like all the time.
Wow.
And I was like, Dad, you look like that. He's the man, right? He would go downtown, and he would be the guy that everybody wanted to go and hang out with, grab a beer with, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had genetically, I have his personality. But there's a number of moments where I saw him start his own business, and all three of his kids were in private school. That's an expensive proposition. And he went through this, you're going to get capped on your salary, you're going to get capped on your commission. He said, screw you, I'm going to start my own thing. And for an entire year didn't make $1, but started his own business. He knew, and he kept telling us, he's like, I know this is going to work. I have worked way too hard to be put in a box here. I'm going to start my own thing. I don't need anyone else to tell me what to do, whatever. And I watched him craft this thing from nothing to something significant.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I was a part of it, right? So I got to answer phones when he couldn't afford a secretary. I got to put together, end caps for Target, and because he had no other workers and he needed to set this up for whatever. And I knew the background, and I got to watch him sell human to human rather than be this machine and this product. He's trying to sell this product. No, he was selling solutions to things earlier than I thought I understood what sales was. I was watching it in real time.
Right.
So when I watched this, and I eventually said, I think I want to do my own thing. I was stubborn to a point because I knew the roadmap that my dad led for me, and I knew what the end result was, where he got to spend more time. He was busy busy and traveling, whatever.
Right.
But his freedom that he developed himself with the rules that he decided to make was the thing that pushed a lot of my stubbornness in making this work regardless.
Sure.
And it sounds woo-woo now.
Yeah.
And whatever. I've abandoned my my shenanigans with the woo-woo bit. But a lot of this is just I willed it to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, would easily give up. They're like, this is way too hard. I'm going to go back to the real world. I just said, no. This is a thing that I'm going to do. Before you needed the self-talk books, I was already self-talking to myself because where are these words going to go anyway? So I'm muttering to myself. I'm like, no, I'm going to be stubborn enough to make this work. I'm going to be consistent enough to make this work, and I'm going to use my dad and watching him go through the struggles of starting his own thing as my muse on what I'm going to do. Yeah. So there's this thing I need to make sure that my family is provided for. Yes, there is this thing where I have a business and I've got employees now that rely on me to be in a successful role. But I watched the master at work the entire time, and I'm like, I'm not going to disappoint. And even if I decided to quit and pack up today, I know that he'd be proud of me, and he's like, you freaking did it. Like, there's not a lot of people who can say that they did what they said they were going to do. Like, a lot of people could start a podcast, could start a business, could write a book, could do. A lot of people don't do that.
Most people could.
Most people could. But everybody talks about it, and nobody freaking does it. And so so I know now that even if I stop, I did it.
Yeah.
But now I'm just stubborn enough that I'm not going to stop.
Now you're already here.
Yeah.
Might as well keep going. So, shifting from, performance and discipline, in your philosophy of leadership and this high level therapist and cheerleader, and then you come in with the logistics and solutions and positioning with the people, you know, you're operating in your people to people, right? And all the time, no matter what you're doing. What makes that most complicated part of what you do?
People make it the most complicated. I think that's usually they complicate everything. I think, and I don't think it's bragging, but I think it is. I have a self-awareness. Whether I do something like great with it, totally different question. But I think I have an acute ability of like self-awareness and what people are thinking at the same time. I just am attuned to people's frustrations or concerns or care. So I think a lot of that helps to continue to push forward. I think it now looking at it allows me to turn it up or turn it down depending on who needs what.
Sure.
But I think within the first 5 or 6 minutes of having a conversation with somebody, I can already identify what their frustrations are without asking too many questions. And then I can just sort of go from there. I think reading people is a very important thing. It goes back to the theater bit where if you're going to bounce ideas off each other, or if you're going to be on stage and you're going to try to emotionally connect with somebody, or you're going to do improv or whatever, you have to trust the other person is going to open up. You're going to open up yourself, and you got to know and read somebody a little bit better than anybody else. But I think people complicate it. Because either they come in with an agenda or they come in with a concern, or they're not telling you what they really need in the first place, and you spend an inordinate amount of time trying to navigate them. And then they might get defensive, or they might get offended by a hefty critique. And so you have to know their personality well enough to know how you deliver the message in the first place. I think being a dad helps, knowing that my 2 boys and my girl receive messages way differently.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I do it all the time. I just feel like I don't want to yell for the sake of yelling, even though it doesn't help. But I know intuitively what I can do to position my question or my request of my kids a lot better. And I think that has helped me sort of navigate. One of the people that I will meet will have some sort of personality trait that my kids would have, and I go, I will.
Yeah.
If he's going to do this, I know exactly how to.
Yeah. I know you.
Yeah, but I think people are the most complicated part about this entire thing, because they're again, they're invested, or they're burnt out, or they're not interested, or they're already mentally gone.
Right.
They don't care. They've got infighting that they need to deal with that I can't even help. That you're going to need way more therapy than me to figure out your crap. And then some people don't even belong in the positions in which they're trying to get better at in the first place.
That's a tough one.
And then how do you navigate that too?
Yeah.
So now you work with what you have, knowing that this person has a finite amount of time at the position that they're going to hold. Now you're going to look at a broader scale, like how do I help the organization, knowing that this person isn't going to last 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible thing to have. And then do you have the conversation with other individuals who are in the leadership team, and it becomes a mess. After that. I think that's the most frustrating part about that in general. But in life too. I mean, I think we gotten to a point now where it's been, social media has ruined discourse, where you can't have an opinion without having, a political side to sit on, or you can't say anything which is taken, overly sensitive. And now you got to navigate that on top of it. So now you have to, it's way more complicated than it used to be, because everyone has thoughts that they don't need to say out loud, but are encouraged to do so, which is terrible.
Yeah. And when you're having these conversations, I think from my younger self, right, if what we're doing here is for, our 5 years ago of ourselves.
Yep.
And I think anybody in any regard in any industry is going through the same mental gymnastics with people in a room, whether it's board, it's C-suite, it's marketing director, CMO, HR, executive. How do you maybe navigate those individual conversations when it's a small group of people or a board? Because I know you sit on them, and you obviously navigate those conversations with them as well too all the time. That's
even tougher, because now you've got inside like business politics going on, or you've got people that really are coming for different purposes and reasons. And if they don't have a unified thing that they're trying to do in the first place, it's very difficult to work with anybody. So a lot of the things that I'll do out of the gate are like, all right, what are we trying to accomplish here? Like explain to me, like I'll have a conversation with the board and my first thing I will say is, why on earth did you join and why on earth do you stay around?
Yeah.
I can learn way more about their board of directors by getting answers for those two questions.
Right.
And now at least I understand individual
Your bet.
personalities down the line.
Yeah.
Great. Let's good for us that we get to figure that out. But then it becomes, it's hard because I know what's best for them in a weird way. Because
Totally.
I know.
Well, that's your thing.
Yeah. But they don't know what's best for them. And so you need them to kind of figure it out with you.
Yeah.
And so shepherding a number of people is way more difficult than shepherding fewer people is way more difficult than most. Because you can probably sway a lot more individuals by saying, hey, group, collectively, let's get to a point. There's 2 or 3 people in a room. One of them's got a really big personality that you got to sort of nudge a lot forward. And then you got to lean into them to unpack their crap on why they aren't going to move forward or whatever things they're digging their heels in. And so it becomes, again, back to reading people, back to navigating where they need to go, but then walking them through that they think they came up with the idea themselves.
Right.
And this too, where like you're trying to sell them on a product or a vision or a thing, and exactly out of the gate. Because again, I think that's part of the creative brains
it's a
that you and I have.
Yeah.
Right. So you know exactly what they need because you've seen it done or the tone, but they can't see it.
Yeah.
Well, if you tell them what it is and then you produce it without their buy-in, they can nitpick the living hell out of it, right? All the time.
Yep.
And so it becomes now your thing, not the thing. That's the hardest part, I think, with working with leadership is to try to navigate, what's best, but you need to have their buy-in first. And so what do you need to do energy-wise to bring everybody to the same conclusion so that when you build the thing that you wanted to do in the first place, everyone's thought that it was their idea, so that you can now collectively win the awards and have the KPIs come in or whatever that is, rather than going it alone and then you becoming the one they blame on them not liking it. And that sucks. Hooray, people!
And when you go into these rooms, right? And I think, I base a lot of my self-implied self-worth of what can I do to positively change the world tomorrow, today, for the betterment. How do you navigate those expectations of the limitations of what maybe come out of your work and what you knew could happen if they had bought in or you had done something differently or whatever? How do you just, I don't say limit, but just, actualize those realizations or those expectations when they don't align one for one?
That sucks because I want everybody to just I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to be happy with all these things. I know they're not. And again, it's going to suck when they don't.
Yeah.
My hope is, using everything that I've learned to make their life a heck of a lot easier, that down the line, they're going to realize that it worked out for the best.
Right.
It's the frustrations that I've always had was I don't like the fact that none of this is immediate and that I got to wait for the result, or I have to wait a long period of time for someone to realize what we did was the right move.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating when you either end a relationship or end a contract or end some sort of business partnership knowing that they didn't see it the way that you needed to see it in the first place. And then you have to wait 3 years for someone to call you and go, hey, I just want to touch base. Like everything you said came true and it was really great. I'm like, oh, thanks. You should let me stress out about that for like
half a
3.
decade.
Yeah, exactly. I think that sucks a lot. I wish there was a magic pill that you could just take and fast forward all their little hiccups that they needed to do. Or I wish that I could get people to engage right away or just tell the story of success out of the gates. I don't have to wait. But that's my impatience. It's a me problem, I think, over the...
Yeah. It's always usually something on the other side of the mirror, which is that reflection of oneself. We haven't talked about Anne Carlson yet, really. And I know that there's some big moments, and I think that was the last place that you really had worked.
This is my last big kid job.
Right. I know there's something about the hallway at the Anne Carlson Center. And what about that? Do you remember most vividly?
Most of my, I think, growth as a fundraiser and as a leader and as a person happened in a hallway at Anne Carlson. So if you've never heard about the Anne Carlson Center, it is this incredible organization in the middle of flyover country, North Dakota, that is an accredited school, an acute hospital, and a residential facility for kids and young adults with severe developmental disability or delay. Like the type of individuals that's only alive through the grace of God or miracle of science. I mean, it is the most medically fragile individuals, plus anyone who's got some behavioral health issues that are there. It was, and it is to this day, the best job that I ever had. I was hired by a mentor of mine, who I really consider a mentor, who took a flyer on me. I was in no position to run that organization's fundraising and marketing, which I did. I ended up being the chief development officer that ran both.
Wow.
But he took a leap of faith on me. And I remember, you want to talk about imposter syndrome? I got that job and I was like, what on earth did I just say yes to? What is this? And there's a couple of moments I think that really changed my perspective on life in general that happened there. And one of them was, I remember walking down the hallway where I was like bitching and moaning about like spreadsheets and budgets and stuff like that. Because we had like long 6-hour executive meetings, and I was on the executive team. It's like a late 20s, early 30s something. I'm like, I have no business doing this at all. But I was sitting in like 6-hour meetings every Monday, and I would just have to complain about these things. So I would walk down the hallway and just complain. And I remember a moment where I'm complaining, head down, mumbling to myself, and there's a kid that's just streaking down the hallway, just going, nah, boo-boo, can't catch me kind of bit.
Yeah.
I'm watching his DSP, his teacher, his para run after him. And they're like, stop him. I'm like, no way, I'm not getting involved because this is like my kid and this is hilarious to watch. And it turns out that kid was told when he was born he'd never talk or walk. Wow. And this organization, navigated and facilitated and gave this kid a new lease on what a true meaning of a life is. And when I found out about that, I go, it was a perspective changer. I go, I have nothing to complain about in my entire life. I get to watch this happen every day. Yeah. It remotivated me to fundraise like a crazy person. And it was a life-changing moment to say, internally, when I figured out that I wanted to do this for a living and consult with a lot of organizations, I go, God, I could have the same impact on a lot of organizations that I'm having on this one. Yeah. I go, that was an insane moment to me.
Realize that.
And in the same hallway, years later, we get a new, sort of leadership within the organization, and never really quite bonded. I don't know why. Our personalities clashed. And I remember sitting down at one of these exec meetings, and we still haven't even chatted. Like, they're getting hired, and we haven't had a sidebar conversation at all. And I remember they have this meeting, this executive meeting. We leave, and he stops me in the hall, and he's like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" I go, "Yeah, absolutely." Right. And he goes, "Are you always like this?" And I go, "You mean awesome?" He goes, No. Just is this a bit? And I go, "Yeah, it's a pretty sweet bit for like 32 years. Yeah, it's pretty awesome." He goes, "Huh," and he just walked away. And I was like, "What the hell was that?" And I'm like, this is what I'm gonna be like navigating for the rest of eternity. I go, absolutely not. And that was the conversation that said, I gotta figure out what I want to do to bring my talent to as many groups as possible. And I thought about it for a while. I knew there was going to be transition at the top, and I thought this is a really good time to maybe like move to do something that I've set upon in my brain a number of years ago. It might be earlier than I wanted to, but this might be an opportunity. But that was a spark that goes, I don't want that vibe at all. It immediately harkened back to what I tried to avoid in the first place.
For
And
sure,
what I was,
yeah.
having these PTSD, I had immediate PTSD of like, oh no, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But the audacity of not having curiosity or being interested in where I was getting to, it was just an assumption of like whatever.
Yeah.
And just knowing that there was going to be a personality clash that was never going to be anything of unified
Are you always
fronts.
like this?
Are you always like
Oh
this?
my God.
Yeah, I
What a
am.
terrible
and
thing
it's
to say to
amazing. It was
somebody.
terrible. So, but that was a launching pad for a lot of things,
Yeah.
and whether it was watching a kid, perform greatly, or watching a kid have a really difficult time navigate life, right, from a behavioral issue and nonverbal, and kids who wouldn't be able to speak, but they had an iPad. And they would be able to talk through their iPad, and you walk down the hall and they're nonverbal, but they say hi to you. You're like, how is that not going to change your entire perspective on what
Right.
matters? And so I still look back at that place as probably one of the most life-changing places that I think you could ever work at, number one, be involved with, number two, but really I think changed my empathy level. It ramped that up exponentially. Gave the if these kids can do it, so can you sort of attitude, ramp that up exponentially. And I think the freedom to actually become a better fundraiser, better marketer, better storyteller, better individual that ran, organizations and peopled a lot with people who worked with me, knowing that I put them first. I was going to be the wall that blocked them from the BS that came down, helped it prevent it from running downhill. I learned a lot about being a leader there. I learned a lot about life there. And I learned about who I didn't want to be as a human being, which, got me out of that and then got me into this. So, yeah.
So when you mentioned the piece around how impactful that hallway experience or scene was, and now you're have helped hundreds,
Like thousands at this point. Yeah.
how much do you feel of a responsibility for like that kid running down the hallway at all these nonprofits, and how do you maybe balance that level of self-responsibility with all these nonprofits you help?
I suck at balancing that. I think that's my biggest struggle is I am obsessively caring about organizations, and it has always been a struggle as a business owner to price myself at a value that doesn't take that into account. I'm now fine with it, but it was a really bad struggle for a while in which I would do this for free every single day. If I stumbled across a lottery ticket that made me not charge anything, I would not change my habits one bit. That's honest to God's truth. And that's awesome on one end. And as a business owner, that sucks royally because I'm constantly put into a position where I know that if I sit down for 2 hours, I can rearrange and I can change the trajectory of where they're going to go. I know that.
Yeah.
And how do I not charge for that? What the hell is wrong with me? What is that? I constantly do that. Yeah. So it set this wonderful tone being at Anne Carlson, and then also made me a terrible cutthroat business person. It's horrible. It's horrible. So that my biggest struggle to this day is being enthusiastic about the work all the time. Yeah. It is trying every single day. And I love it. I'll get people who call like, hey, I know this is I just need to pick your brain. Having somebody who navigates my calendar a little bit better, having Aaliyah in your life,
curb that a little. Oh my God, better.
It's great. Except then I look back and I go, God, I really just would, I could help. Yeah. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst and the best. And but that balance I think is wonderful. I get to have these key clients and these cornerstone clients that allow me the opportunity to
then go and help the people that maybe couldn't.
Yeah. So that has always been an obsessive balance for me. And I'm terrible at it to this day. Yeah. It's a fight every day.
It's a better one than most. When you say, right, so maybe moving a little bit into like a little bit about what you actually do.
Sure.
Right. When you say maybe nonprofits struggle or suck less at fundraising, maybe is a terminology we love to use.
Yes.
What part of that is humor and what part of that is maybe truth?
I think it is. I think it's all true, and I think sometimes you got to crack through it with a bit of humor. It is a very serious business trying to raise as much money as possible to fix some really societal issues that you're trying to navigate, right? So it is very difficult to work with food insecurity. It's very difficult to work with housing or kids with who are on the spectrum, or whatever thing whatever muse you are involved in. It's very difficult. I think the only way that you get to navigate that is with a bit of sense of humor. And I think giving people permission to laugh about the ridiculous nature of our job right now, which is asking people for their hard-earned cash in order to help out society, is you have to lead with that. I have seen so many people burned out so much quicker if they don't have the ability to laugh at the ridiculous nature of this entire sector. It just, again, we had a bunch of grants. Now our grants went away. What are you going to do? Well, you got to laugh about it now because that was as dumb as possible. Or, you had a ridiculous meeting with a board member or a donor and somebody said something insanely stupid. Like, you can't take it personally. You got to laugh about that kind of thing. So I think leading with humor is difficult for a lot of people who are very serious about the work that they do. And there's not a lot of funny things about some of the programs and services
Missions.
you're trying to run. Yeah, missions. There's nothing funny about that. But the situations you put yourself into is absolutely ridiculously funny. Like, I remember having somebody complain to me as a major donor. Like, I did an apology tour at one of my big kid jobs, and because I was like the 5th development director in like 6 years.
Sure.
And so I did a whole tour, and I just said sorry for having another name.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. I'm going to be here for a while. Let's talk about this. And I remember having somebody just rip into me about how I don't feel this, and this is a problem, this is a problem. And then he listed off a bunch of problems that weren't even like the organization that I was representing and just complaining about that. And I go, oh, holy Hannah. And then I got done with that conversation. And he goes, well, thanks for letting me bitch about that. And I was like, it was an entire hour of me just being riddled with complaints. And then we got a phone call, and we were like really good friends after that. And I'm like, if you can't laugh about how stupidly ridiculous that whole conversation, that series of events are,
Right.
you're going to be messed up forever. So I think having a good sense of humor about all of this is a mainstay.
Yeah.
Not used to be, no one's used to having that in the nonprofit world. Good God, you have to have it, though.
Come on, Patrick, it's serious work, isn't it?
It's very serious work, but it's almost ridiculous too. Like, you're getting a bottle of wine and you're trying to sell it. You're taking a bottle of wine and you're throwing, you're doing a ring toss with bottles of whiskey. Really, is your life like that's the most ridiculous thing? Your people have spent money to go spend more money on putting an actual thing together at an event.
Yeah.
Okay, you're having a walk with animals that are dressed up in costumes. I know it's very serious. We have to have these conversations about how you're going to have animal shelters and blah blah blah. But you're also dressing up your dog as an elf.
Yeah.
You can't have a serious laugh about this. That's kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Obviously, emotion is something we've talked about quite a bit in this, and whether it's from navigating conversations with board members, or the way that you've emotionally navigated your own business, or the way that you've come to be the confident Patrick Kirby that we've seen. What do most people misunderstand, though, about fundraising emotionally through that storytelling process?
I think they mostly miss that nothing has to be a Sarah McLachlan song all the time. Like, you don't have to have Arms of the Angels playing in every single thing. You don't have to do that.
Okay, cue that music right now.
You should just make sure that this happens. You don't need this. This music doesn't have to happen. I think they miss that being sad or mad are the only ways that people donate. People want to help with momentum. They want to be joyful. They want to be excited. They want to be happy at the end of this. I think people miss a lot of the enthusiasm and positive notes. And I think people are tired of everything being inspiration porn. One of my buddies, Scott Burlingame, had said that beautifully in a speech once, and I stole it from him.
Yeah.
Shout out Scott for inspiration porn. It's a great phrase for it. But you don't need a lot of that. Like, you don't need that all the time. People are exhausted that everything is an issue. Everything has to be dour and dire and sad. Donors, I think a lot of nonprofits need enthusiasm and joy and positivity and that sort of vibe, because they want to know that what they're doing is helping. They don't want to keep throwing their money away at, an impossible task that goes over and over again. So how can you inspire joy or inspire enthusiasm or inspire creativity or inspire curiosity? Like all those emotions that you would have, the excitement and whatever, great tools. And you can totally use that in the nonprofit storytelling space. Nothing has to be tragic all the time. And in fact, you see a lot of organizations who only speak in tragedy that fail miserably because you're now giving them zero hope that what you're doing is going to work.
Change anything. Yeah.
Everything is terrible all the time. Well, great. That's the most worthless, tactic that you can have. Yeah. And no donor wants to be a part of a losing team. They all want to be a part of this winning culture, winning organization, feel good. I know I'm going to make the difference in the world kind of bit. And if you can do that, then okay, now you're talking. So I think not using the full range of emotions when you come to the fundraising tactics or the storytelling pieces, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, and people want to find joy in what they're doing. It's joyful to give.
Totally.
So why don't you embrace that joy in the first place? And I think a lot of nonprofits get that wrong because they think that, well, I can't be excited about us helping more people get food. Yes, you can. To the person who's getting food, this is the most joyful day in their life, right? They don't have to worry for a significant amount of time with the amount of food that they have now for their family. That's a joyful moment. Why not enjoy, celebrating that piece? Or a kid graduates from school and they shouldn't have, or this kid gets independence and become living independently. There's no dour thing you get to do there. It sucks for the situation. It sucks that they had to work so hard to get it, but now they have it.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate a little bit. So I think you're 100% spot on in asking the question, which is, why aren't more emotions used in fundraising? It's because they don't think they can, and they should a lot.
Yeah. And when, I think both you and I know this, but when did fundraising become more about this belief and emotion than a dry sump mechanic, black and white type of storytelling, right?
I think a lot of it has to do with social media. I think a lot of it has to do with donor burnout. I think they just got really tired of the same old.
Sure.
I have a phrase that I loathe. It's the way we've always done it. Oh, gee, it's the worst thing in the entire world. And I think a lot of nonprofit organizations and a lot of their donors got really sick and tired of that as well at the same time. So I think it happened a number of years ago. Yeah. And I think it became a mission. And in order to stand out in the crowd of very black and white, boring, mundane, dark, issues in the world, in order to stand out in a very busy space, you need to do something dramatically different. And if you're going to give hope and optimism, people want to be drawn to that. And especially if you turn on the news and everything is terrible. Everything is god-awful all the time, because that sells clicks and it sells rage or whatever. Well, if you're a donor, if you're a human being, you can't live on that alone. Otherwise, you're going to be the most miserable human being on the face of the planet, right? So you're looking for hope. You're looking for stories of that. And I think that shift, when everything became 24-hour news and 23 of it is always awful, the most highly rated things that always get the clicks are, look what the good news did today. There's an entire thing on just good news in general. People are craving for it. It doesn't make money for a lot of the socials and a lot of the news agencies, but it sure as hell does feel great. And I think as soon as they got word that the difference maker could be, I'm going to give hope and optimism and enthusiasm, I think it changed the landscape there. Yeah.
So then, moving to, mission and identity clarity as you're navigating your own brand, but also working with, these hundreds and thousands of nonprofits, and you know this because, just in the world where everyone's just trying to sell you something,
Yep.
how do you decide, you know, how to reach them and what truly matters when that messaging?
I I learned a trick in conversation, which is grabbing somebody on the phone or having somebody in an email. And the question that I ask everybody that I get in front of is, what's the one thing you want to solve today? Like, what's the biggest pain point that you have? Like, just getting those two questions answered
Yeah.
immediately, then I think you can take off and do whatever you want. I think that the identity, it's identifying whatever the big pain point is.
Yeah.
So I'll say a lot for the personal brand is, what's your seemingly unsolvable fundraising problem that I can help you solve today? Say it all the time, right? And mostly it is, what do you want to accomplish on this call today? And that answer will dictate what you want to do next. But I think it answers a larger question too. And fluff is great, and I want to get to know personality wise.
Yeah.
But get an answer to something. People are so lost and confused on where they can get an answer, and they don't have the time to navigate a lot of the pieces. They don't know how to. And so, can you be a bright light?
Yeah.
By giving them the thing that they need the most right away. And now you become a reliable person that they can lean on or get information from. And that long-term play, which again, terrible business. I could just be, what can I do to get you to be a client
Peace
today,
out, yeah.
right?
Right.
The long play has always been, I'm going to give you all the answers that you need. I'm going to give you every piece of content that I have so that you can, work on whatever you need to work on, knowing that 99% of the people are not going to be able to execute it, and I'm going to be the one that does it. Right? It's the old Gary Vee thing, and you and I talked about this really early.
Yeah.
I'm going to give as much value as humanly possible. I'm going to give you every answer that I possibly have.
Yeah.
And every speaking gig that I have and every presentation that I give, I spend an inordinate amount of time at the end. Just ask me whatever you need.
Yeah.
Give me your hard problems. I'm going to work it out with you live and in person. Now, it hones my skills because I know whatever, my answers are going to be very interesting and live. But then I realized that everybody's got the same damn problems anyway. And so I begin to repeat myself, and nobody remembers the answer because they're all in their own little la la land, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you value all the time. And then people are going to sit on there and go, God, you know what? I felt really good about getting an answer from Patrick. I'm going to go call him, and that's going to be the thing. So my personal play has always been, I'm going to give you as much information as you need. I'm going to give you more than you can probably handle. It's going to be okay because you know my cell phone number at this point. You can call me anytime, and then we'll navigate what that looks like down the line. And it's it generally boded well.
Yeah.
It's bode well for me in the business realm. I probably did not grow as fast as I probably could have.
Sure.
I didn't expand to a 50-person team and became a gigantic agency that could take on 59 projects. I don't want to. But it got the right clients because they bought into the personality and the process in general. And they knew that I was going to be a font of information, and then they could just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I would debate that the growth has been probably more sustainable and long term, and
100%.
People have realized that it's always been the same thing you've said the last 7-8 years, and it's going to continue to be the same thing. And
Not moving.
there's no trend of the day, and it's not the way we've always done it. It's Patrick Kirby.
Yeah, you're going to get that all the time. The best compliment that I've ever gotten was showing up on stage. I think maybe it was in Virginia. They hired me to come out and do a talk, and we'd been working together in a couple of webinars, and I I'd come in full 110% Patrick Kirby through the screen. I'm going to give you an enthusiastic answer on single thing you're going to give me. And then I meet everybody, I show up on stage, give the same sort of energy that I'm going to give on stage. It's going to be great. And I get off stage, and the first thing that I was greeted with was, you're exactly who you are in person as you were on the phone, on a Zoom call, and in private conversation. I go, yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to be the exact same human being. I'm not going to give you something that I'm not. This is not made up.
Yeah.
I may need a little bit of energy, like regaining at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you're going to get this
Whenever
the entire
I'm
time.
there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I shared the same thing with you, which is actually how you and I met, is when I moved to Fargo, I saw on LinkedIn that you had a pair of Gary V's, was it Reeboks or whatever his brand of shoe that he had? And I had just shot him and Theo Vaughn before Theo Vaughn was even famous down in Rochester. And the question I got asked by every single person that knew I had shot for him that day was, is he like the same thing on camera as he is in person? And I'm like, well, you can't just be on camera all the freaking time.
Nope.
And be on calls all the freaking time and shooting content all the freaking time if
Right.
you aren't. Like, there's just,
Yeah.
there's not a big enough gap to not be that person all the time.
No. And I think, I think I struggled a lot early, and even, even more recently, like what's authentically enthusiastic and what's performative. And I spent an inordinate amount of time working on making sure I knew the difference between the two. I found that mostly it's the same. There are moments where I was like, okay, I'm putting on a face, I'm putting on a show, I'm putting on this kind of thing here and
levels
there.
a little bit up on that one.
Let's button that up a little bit. But you're going to get the same thing you're going to get in private that you're going to get in public. I'm going to laugh louder than everybody else. I'm going to cheerlead the hell out of you louder than everybody else. I'm going to be obnoxiously enthusiastic. My arms are going to wave every which way. I'm not going to be a controlled sort of boring human being. And if I am, either I don't feel well or I'm not on my game and I'm not, I need that reboot spade at the end of the night, whatever.
There's something talking
But it's
to
going to
you.
be the same thing. I'm going to be at a dinner party, at a post, at my neighbor's house playing cards. I'm going to say the same inappropriate jokes that are going to that's the bit. You're not going to get anything different. And I think I can hang my hat on that authenticity going forward and with anything that I do now. And that has been the longest thing to work on, is to just embrace it and just say, okay, that this is who I am naturally. I got to be careful about who I associate with and who I bring into the circle, because either it's either going to be good, bad, or indifferent. I need to be careful about that. But I'm not going to give you anything less than what I'm going to give everybody else.
Going going back into some of the it will always apply to yourself, but also to the nonprofits that you've helped and will continue to help. When did you realize about storytelling that it wasn't just about the story black and white, that there was something else to be told within that?
Yeah. I think this really goes back to theater days. And I think it goes back to my obsession with just movie structure and high fantasy books. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, what marketing books are you reading? What fundraising books are you reading? What are you reading in the sector? None. I have a lot of friends who wrote a lot of books, and I will be very honest, I've not read any of them, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I'll skim them and I will use them as references. I will recommend books because I know they're good human beings and I know the content's great. Other people are reading them; it's going to be awesome. I don't read a lot of those because I don't want to say something very similar than other people are going to do it within the industry. Number one. Number two, they kind of all sound the same to me, and I don't have an
affinity for that.
I don't really care about that. But number three, I read a lot of George R.R. Martin or Brandon Sanderson or Patrick Rothfuss. I will read a lot of high fantasy because it is all storytelling in a way. If I'm putting on a pedestal Tolkien and I'm reading Lord of the Rings and I'm reading The Hobbit, the world that they create around it is more important than the storyline itself.
Totally.
The story, if you're reading The Hobbit, it's or you're reading Lord of the Rings, it's a walk.
You're just hanging out.
They're just hanging out, walking down a road. They got a ring. They're going to put it into the thing. Whatever happens around you is the story. It's the interaction between other human beings. It's the confidence building you get from doing tasks or to-dos or adventures. It's side quests and that kind of thing. And my entire life is a side quest. I'll just wake up one day and I go, I need to do this as an event, or I need to write this, or I need to do this. But the whole venture is very boring. I wake up, I help nonprofits fundraise, I get their crap together, I go home and I go to sleep. I wake up and I do the whole thing. It's very boring. It's the Lord of the Rings walk is my boring story every day. My side quests and adventures and conversations are the same thing. And so I read a lot of those things. I watch a lot of those shows because the story building and the world building is the thing that makes it real. Because if you go to any food shelf, what do? Provide food for people who are insecure about it. Totally. It's boring as hell. I don't like that. What are the side quests that people did to get there? I'm more intrigued about how somebody had to take a bus and take an entire basket of food because they didn't have transportation there. And now the struggle of somebody grabbing the food and now what to do with it becomes meaningful. 100%. So I find the side quest and the adventure and the story around the story way more important than anything else.
You know, I think you've mentioned a lot in our time together, just collaborating on projects and just sipping beers or coffee. Going back into that storytelling differentiation of, you know, everything that we innately do is just boring, I think, until you add the flavor or the icing or the candy painted road and
Yep.
how it makes a difference, and to mainly relate it back to people and their own emotions as a donor. So maybe tell me some more about how that's come to fruition and what ways you lead your own organizations and
Yeah,
nonprofit help.
you know, I think most donors will always be, they'll always want to be the hero in a story. So I think a lot of the tips and tricks and techniques are, how do you put a potential donor in position to be the one that becomes the hero that slays the dragon, that saves the princess, that does like all these kind of things that you would have traditionally. I think it does with the clients though too. I think that whole story mentality of you survived this board of directors meeting that really went off the rails,
Yeah.
and you created a plan that you went back to them, they cheered your successes, and
Yeah.
now you get to be the conquering hero with the amount of like, it is the same story
Yeah.
flavor, right?
Right.
It's the boring noodles that have a really great sauce on them, and the sauce becomes the thing rather than the boring noodles that everybody gets to eat, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important piece to the storytelling element, is where are you injecting the person reading it that's involved in it as the center point. And there's a big thing in the nonprofit sector right now about how that traditional fundraising doesn't bring up the topics that are very difficult, on like income inequality and political disablement or whatever. Like, you got to get to the heart of this and be a little bit more politically, pointed in things, and
Right.
almost blame the wealthy for their whole thing. And there's a big that's a big topic of conversation behind
Yeah.
closed doors nowadays. And I've rejected it all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just not the nature of us. We want to solve big problems, and then really it makes us feel good. And this is the only time I think that you can, do something because it feels good and it's okay. Like in the sense of like, I'm going to do great things and I can brag about me doing good things because I'm doing good things. It's okay. It's okay to feel, you don't have to feel bad about feeling good about helping people in your own capacity, whether it's time, talent, or treasure.
Yeah.
And I think there will always be the thing that people traditionally will give to you, and they will continue to give to you as long as they feel as if they're the center point of being a part of it. I'm not going to do things because I'm obligated to do them. That I've never liked that, right?
Yeah.
Every time my parents say, you got to clean your room because you have to. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to do it on my own terms, and I want to do this because
own
I
way.
like this. Then you feel better about it. It's the same thing with donors. They want to be a part of the solution. They want to be a part of the team that actually wins. No one voluntarily becomes a Vikings fan. Like, this is a miserable experience as someone who just been a fan for
Too long.
for way too long, right? 40 plus years of my
Yeah.
life has been a Vikings fan. It's miserable. Now, it makes me a more resilient human being. I understand that unreasonable expectations will never happen. I'm going to be unrealistically positive about the beginning of this season. I'm going to stick with it, and I'm stubborn. Like, all those characteristics I
Yeah.
think are good for a human being.
Right.
But like, when my kid was very young, he was a Patriots fan. This was peak Patriots, right? And I'm like, why are you a Patriots fan? He goes, did they win?
Yeah.
Well, of course, that makes sense to an 8-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid. And I think donors want to be a part of that. They don't want to give to losing teams. They want to be a part of a winning organization. They don't want to just throw, good money away at a bad, entity. They want to be part of the story. So invite them and make that happen.
So you've talked about, obviously, these very brilliantly imaginative stories, books, movies, series. How does understanding that story arc creation really influence how you communicate in current day Patrick Kirby language?
It's funny. I embraced a very long time ago that I was going to just write or communicate in that angle, and then anyone who liked it is going to like it a lot more than other people, and others will just find it fascinating and just get on board. So I have taken to just embracing the fact that I am a dork at heart. I play way too many video games.
Yeah.
I watch way too many nerdy movies. I am way more curious about particles and entanglement and quantum mechanics and that kind of dork. And I will write things that I find to be entertaining along those lines.
Yeah.
So I don't change the language, I think, to anybody. I just speak where I am comfortable writing, where I think is entertaining, where I think it's going to be a great position piece.
Right.
And people will latch onto it, and then people will really they'll write back and go, God, that was finally funny, or whatever. Like your reference here to to like late 90s things was very entertaining, and I liked all that. Good, because I will continue to do that.
Right.
I will make a late 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference to a video game, or I will make a Ren and Stimpy, cartoon reference. Will anybody get it? Absolutely not. Will it just be a joke for me? 100%. And I think that embracing that has been very fun from a creative standpoint, where I don't have to be compromising to make sure that I'm appealing to something else. I'm going to do it because I think I can translate it a lot easier with my reference points.
Right.
If I'm going to have a better than Ezra reference, like that's a good bit. Like I wrote, and I think I can't remember what other blog. It's a great Norm Macdonald joke back in the day when he was on Saturday Night Live. And I've thought about this joke because it's so well crafted, and I've laughed about it for years. Where he said, and Billboard's #1 hit this year, better than Ezra. #2, Ezra. And I think that's the funniest joke in the entire world because it's just the setup is so great. Yeah. So if I use a random Norm Macdonald joke that I've been obsessing about in the creation of writing that, I will use that in a writing reference, and I think it will be funny. And someone along the line will find that to be funny too, and then I will laugh, and then we'll laugh together. Yeah. And I get my point across. I find it to be entertaining. I can creatively, express how you get from point A to point B in really random references all the time.
And I think that's also still just like, it's the Gary Vee thing, which the Gary Vee thing is everyone's thing, but just putting as many things out there about yourself as possible, which then allows people then to build rapport and trust beyond just Patrick trying to understand who I am, which is a huge ability and an immense talent. Right. But then also that you have the talent of what you actually do through nonprofit fundraising consulting. Yeah. And then it's also, then we also happen to like the same weird thing or the fun thing. And all those connect, and then the relationship is truly formed beyond just consultant, very vanilla or boring or stringent.
No, they want to write, I want to write, a text message that's very personal to someone in the middle of a client, relationship. It can be funny, and we can know and have an inside joke together. It's okay to do that. I think that took a very long time to learn, especially in the consulting client relationship bit. Like, how professional do I have to be? Whatever. They don't want professional. They don't want clear. They don't want polish. They want a natural rhythm that they can relate to in order for them to do their jobs. Because otherwise it just sounds very ivory towerish. Let me tell you what you need to do. Nobody wants to hear that. Like, what do you got? Let's go talk about it in real language, very simple, keep it stupid, enough that everybody can understand. And that's how I think you do a lot of work.
Absolutely. So once you understand the story, it seems like you started thinking differently about the audience. And I think we have on here you quote Rick Rubin saying the audience comes last. What does that mean in your life today? I
wish really early on in my life I had paid attention to Rick Rubin. And Rick Rubin, for those of you who don't know, he's an unbelievably famous music producer. He's produced everything from like System of a Down to Johnny Cash, and everything in between. Like you'll know him immediately because he's this huge bushy beard, looks like a homeless person, and is a brilliant navigator of like art. Yeah. And he had a wonderful interview years ago that And one of the things that stuck with me a lot was he goes, the artist has to come, or the audience has to come last. And I was like, what does that even mean? And he explained it to say, make something you love, and that's all that matters. People will like it or they'll hate it. It doesn't really matter. But if it's not authentic, if you're making it for someone else, nobody's going to buy into that you created that for you. So write what you want. Create what you want, say what you want, be you, and create what you love, and pour every ounce of energy that you have into that, and people are going to latch onto it. People are going to be attracted to that. They're not going to be attracted to the performative stuff that we were talking about earlier. They're not going to be attracted to something that's formulaic or like if you watch movies these days, right? It is the same damn movie every single time. It's the same structure. If you listen to music nowadays, right? If you are listening to the radio right now, everything is so freaking formulatic. Nothing is inspiring or interesting. It all sounds the goddamn same. And you watch the award shows, and they go like, "What is this? How is this even a thing?" Right? It's very much industry saying that this is what you will like. Gross. The most joy I've gotten out of things is just doing things that I think are great, and then people attaching and going, I love that too. And I go, well, then we can be best friends. And now this is going to be amazing. And I think the most brilliant things that either clients have done or I've done, or even I've seen you do a lot, which is I know that this is fun. This is great. I love this. I'm going to do it. And then people fall in love with that. And then they fall in love with you because that's the type of person that they want to hang out with. And that becomes more authentic than anything else. And now they know the kind of person that you are, which leads back to your previous question of like, oh, they know exactly what they're going to get.
Right.
This is not a thing. It's you're going to show up in the same way that you always show up, which is overly enthusiastic. I'm going to be positive. This is going to be fantastic. And we're just going to go and run.
So then what changes when you create something for yourself versus external approval?
Not a damn thing. I create the same thing I create for myself is the same thing that I publish out with with very little edits. And I think that's what makes this so much more fun now. I've gotten away from trying to write stuff for others, and I write things that I'm immediately latched onto. So I'll read the Chronicle of Philanthropy and I will get a couple of headlines that will make me enraged, and I'll just rage write and I'll publish it immediately. Spelling errors and all. Like one of the best things that I ever gotten, I wrote a piece, and it was like an aggressive piece, and I was yelling about stuff. And I made a spelling error in the title of the thing on my newsletter. And so I said, the cavalry's not coming. It's really what it was. But I spelled Calvary as in where Jesus died, not Calvary as in the horses are coming.
Yeah.
I had 50 people email me like, "This wrong spelling of Calvary, this is where Jesus." I'm like, I didn't know because I didn't spell check it and I didn't AI write it. I just rage wrote it, and this is okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I authentically posted it out. And the interactions I got were very authentic, and either people were very mad about it, or they laughed about it, or they thought it was funny. Even this last newsletter I sent out, I misspelled the word, and somebody thought it was very funny, and they wrote it back. And I go, yes, I'm not going to spend time over editing. I'm not going to spend time over crafting. I'm going to write the way that I write. I'm going to create the way that I'm going to create, and it involves a lot more fun people that way.
And how did letting go of those audience expectations really affect or mold or build or tear down your confidence?
I think it increased confidence tenfold because I don't have to care anymore. The most freeing thing in the entire world is just not to care what other people think. I have been so terrible about that for my entire life. Again, firstborn, I need to be the one that is holding everybody's crap together. I understand that, whatever. It took a lot of work and effort to not care. Now, do I still have to process a lot of that stuff and like tell myself I don't have to care? Yes, absolutely. It's a work in progress all the time. But it is the most freeing. I sleep better at night. I don't have to worry about where I need to, sort of find my place in the world anymore. It's just the best. Let go of caring about what other people think about you, and it's so much more freeing. And then do the stuff that you want. It's a finite amount of time on this planet, and that's the other thing too. When you get older and you get a lot more gray hair, you'll have this happen to you. You realize that there's like way there's not, at any moment, you and I are going to croak here. And then what is all this meaningless crap that we had to like try to tie things to?
Yeah.
I try to tell that with my kids too. I go, just do the things that make you excited. I said, don't fall into this trap that you need to do this or manually, whatever. Don't, you find out what you really love to do and do it. And that's been amazing. And then now I get to like not worry or over worry. I'll worry. I'll always worry, but I'm worrying less.
And looking at your gray hair comment of confidence and self-belief usually comes from somewhere deeper than surface level, right? You talk and I see it of this this unreasonable belief in yourself.
It is.
Where has that been formed from, really? If you had to pinpoint down if it was a single experience, which it probably isn't, but maybe a catalyst and a bridge to where it got to be, solidified.
I don't think it was one thing. It's been a collection of things that I think are really fascinating. I watched my brother become a rock star, like a legitimate rock star. Like, that guy has no right being a rock star. He became a rock star. I ran for office, for political office at the age of like 25. I shouldn't have been running for office, but I did it anyway, right? So all these little things of like, if I could do this, what the hell? What? I'm worried about whatever. And again, I think it comes back to, and it may sound a little bit morbid, but like we're here for just a speck of time. Like, and so be unreasonable in your expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
Because like, what? Okay, you're not, and then poof, we're done. And so you can't take any of this with you. You can't do this. Like just have an unreasonable belief in yourself. And by the way, most people don't, so they follow the ones that do. The ones that have an unreasonable amount of belief in themselves are the ones that run everything anyway.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you can you say that we're going to colonize Mars. You're a crazy person. But like, we give Elon Musk billions
also,
and billions.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? Okay, great. That people follow that sort of thing. Or look back to the founding of the country. We're gonna go to war with the King of England, the world's most powerful navy, and we're just going to become our own independent nation. That's unreasonable positivity. You shouldn't be able to do that. We're going to go to the moon. No, you aren't. Okay, yeah, we did. It's unreasonable that you should say these things. And I think that audacity is something that I love more than anything. And it's inspiring to myself. It's inspiring, I think, to others. And I love every bit of it.
So then what does it mean to lead beyond motivational language into action?
Yeah, I think that's the hard part, I think, for a lot of my client work too, that they just like expect they need to do something, whatever. It's the difference maker between, there's dreamers and there's doers. I think the most exciting thing is that like you figured it out and you're going to take a step forward and you're actually going to do the work. That I think is the hardest transition for everybody. But it is just and you got to have an extraordinary amount of belief that you're going to be able to do that. Like, that's the thing.
Audacity.
The audacity.
Right.
It's just all audacity. Like, can you do the thing you said you're going to do? Going back to your question earlier, too, about the audacity of, like, doing or executing a lot of this stuff, I don't think a lot of individuals, whether you're a business owner or a nonprofit or whatever, they don't ask the question, what's the worst that's going to happen? Are you going to, like, is everything that your decision about doing this event or calling this person or asking a question going to result in someone punching you in the face? No, it's never going to be that way, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the nonprofit clients that I work with who are obsessed about what they think is going to happen to their relationship with someone or their action plan on, executing this event. Are you going to lose $1 million by doing an event? No. Are you
Probably
gonna
not.
like get accosted by somebody who said yes to having a coffee with you, and they know they're gonna ask for money, and then you ask for money, and then they yell at you? No, it's never gonna happen in the history of thing. So I think the audacity of actually executing, number one, but then asking the question, what's the worst that can happen? Probably not what you imagine it to be in the first place, ever. So
When was a memorable time that you acted on something audacious before you truly felt ready, beyond the things we've already talked about?
a lot of the events that I put together, I think I didn't know if they're going to work or not always. So any do-gooders conference that we put on, I'm like, is anyone going to show up? Is that going to be a thing? I think writing and just deciding to publish a book, that's the most audacious and silly thing on paper. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work, and this is going to be a horrible thing. I think a lot of it's just starting the business. I didn't know if that was gonna. I mean, I believed it was gonna work, but who the hell knows in any business environment that's whether it's going to work or not. I think a lot of I think it also comes down to what's the worst that's going to happen. I think my fear is reserving or not doing something and then having immediate regrets and thinking about whatever that could have been. I think I spent way too much time in my younger days sort of regretting not doing a thing. And so whether it's travel, while I'm still capable of like having knees and doing whatever, like I want to do that. I have never found, I've never found the risk of taking on a challenge more complicated than the risk of not doing something in the first place. And I'm willing to fall on my face and laugh about it and take one for the team to figure out if it's going to be truly interesting or not. I don't really necessarily care all the time. Or an Achilles, whatever that is. I find it so much more interesting by just taking a leap and doing it in general.
Yeah. And here you are.
And here I am. I would never be on this podcast without saying yes.
Yeah. You would have been on it whether you liked it or not.
Yes, I would have. I would have been forced to, and I would say yes all the time anyway.
So my last question before we go into this book over here, what advice would you give someone waiting for confidence before starting something?
Yeah. When I tried to make the leap, so I started this business about 3 months after my daughter was born. So the third kid, daughter was born. And then I said, honey, I'm going to start my own business. Not a great, by the way, tip, marriage advice. Don't do that ever. Don't say that. Talk about it first. Get buy-in on the home front. That'll help you in the long term. But I thought a lot about, I'd always set a goal for myself. Like, I'm going to start my own business by 40. It's kind of where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I thought a lot about, or projected a lot about, the risk of not doing it and how bad I would feel about missing an opportunity where even if the conditions weren't perfect, if I had made sure all the conditions were perfect, I would never have done it. And never have I ever seen someone successful waiting for everything to be perfection before you leap. Ever. I don't think anyone is always ready for it. There's never a time where you can check all the boxes and whatever. So you will never feel confident 100% about executing anything on God's green earth, ever. And if you do, you've way overcomplicated it, and that is a decision that you should have made 20 years ago or whatever. Like you've spent way too much time thinking, and the opportunity is probably passed. And I think the leap of faith to do the thing that you want to do always requires you to have hesitation, because that's at least something in the back of your brain going, okay, I got to make sure that I'm at least cognizant of some of the pitfalls that I know are going to happen. So good for you in sort of laying that out. But you will never, ever, no matter what decision it is, whether you're going to get a new CRM, like, oh God, I got to move these things over or whatever it is, or I need to write an email to a client. I don't know if it's whatever. You'll always have a hesitation on stuff. It's just the degree by which, it's going to feel more overwhelming. Yeah. But you'll never feel perfect. So you don't stop it. My tip would be stop expecting it to feel 100% certain. Yeah. Because it will never be that. Ever, ever, ever. And you'll never have that moment. You'll never have, and I think think it down to the simple things. You go to a restaurant and you're like, what are we going to have? You're like, I'm between 3 items. And the minute I order some item, I probably wish I should have gotten that other thing, right? But I did it and I eat it and I enjoy it, or whatever slop bowl that comes into my, gullet. I'm like, all right, fine, it's deal. Nothing bad happened. No. Little indigestion probably. Shouldn't have ordered the spicy whatever it was. But nothing bad happens. I think people get in their heads about perfection, and that paralyzes them to no death. I see it in the nonprofit world all the time, where they just refuse to move because they don't have everything right. And that is where I draw the line at, please God, don't do that. Yeah. Don't wait. Yeah. Be obnoxiously confident that your idea is going to work. Because if it doesn't, what's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah. Oh, you got to go get a new job? You got to go do something else? Okay. Right. Great. Join the world. Yeah. Congratulations. But nobody has, you're going to be in very rare company on you actually doing the thing. And that itself is the reward. And it sucks to figure that out really late. Like the reward itself was just taking the leap itself.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I know that. That I started this business without ever having a degree or having a job in film or video production or news or radio or newspaper or any real marketing job. I mean, my last job before I got this was, started the business was at Texas Roadhouse or was at Sickies in East Grand Forks or whatever. And do I wish I would have maybe navigated it a little differently before I just jumped into starting a business without actually knowing how to do video? Probably.
Here's the thing, though, and I want to challenge you on this too, because I again, your Texas Roadhouse stories. You should do an entire podcast of just that. Side note, ask for it, people. I think you learned to people, and you learned how people perceive things in that environment better than a lot of people who went through a 4-year degree to get whatever.
Don't disagree with that.
I honestly think that some of the best entrepreneurs that I know, some of the best human beings that I know are at business or whatever, came from the streets. The streets of the Texas Roadhouse, right? God. You're like, I'm gonna work through these roles and I'm gonna find out what. But I think you understanding people a lot better in that route probably set you up for better success than ever. And I think this is where I tell a lot of either clients or people that I'm in navigation with, you've already done your life experience, your lived experience, your things that you have happen already is building you towards whatever the hell you want to do. And you're going to always navigate in that road. So,
yeah. And I think that the corporate structure, and again, it's not a corporate job, but it's corporate company of, you had to ask and say keywords all the freaking time and ask for upsells.
Yes.
Every single time somebody said something, you want mushrooms and onions on that. Do you want to make it a jumbo? Do you want a Patron kicker in your margarita? Do you want, whatever? And it's like just being told no, or the times that people go, oh, I didn't know that was even available. Yeah, I would love that. And you go, wow, well, maybe not everyone, thinks I'm selling. It's just, you can maybe phrase it as an optionality a little bit differently, in that you're actually serving somebody a purpose here, that they've come here for a reason. Yep. So I'm not just selling them something because they're already here.
Oh, then but you get to navigate with. I mean, again, I was a waiter for a number of years too, and I think everybody who is in sales, number one, needs to be a waiter or work in retail at some point. You have to do that. But I think working in the food industry too is so unbelievably 100%. You get the cranky people, you get the super
Yeah.
nice people, you get the bad tippers, you get the big tipper. Every walk of life walks through that door.
And then the cooks in the back.
They're
and you have
the
your
worst.
expo, and you have your creepy manager up front, and you got your terrible boss or good boss or
They're
first
the
person.
same everywhere. And I
Yeah.
think, but if you do it in an environment where you use speed and whatever, and they
Quick.
reward
Yes.
personality, they
Yeah.
reward personable
Yep.
relationship
Hustle, it's like
stuff.
an entrepreneurial
Of course it
mindset
is.
to some degree.
Yeah,
Make your own money there, your tips.
the whole thing.
There's a front and back of house. You can go and yap and complain about it to your
Of
friends
course
in the
you
back,
can.
and then you can come back out.
It's the exact same thing. So yes,
100%.
that's the hustle right there. Everybody who's an entrepreneur needs to go be a waiter for a while.
Oh my God. Before you even live your life as an adult,
need to
I
do
think
that.
you should do that.
Yeah.
All right. So this book is a question that you will write in here after answering the one from the last person.
Ooh.
And the question is, if you could trade one talent you currently have for any other you don't, what would it be and why?
God, that's a great. If I could trade a talent that I have for something I don't have,
That you treasure, that you know is, a superpower unique.
I'm going to start with the one that I wish I had,
Okay.
which is an artist's execution. Like I love the idea of drawing and painting and crafting in that way.
Yeah.
I draw like my 8-year-old. In fact, that's offensive to my 8-year-old. She draws way better than I do.
Yeah.
And I have always loved creatives who can take whatever's in their brain and actually functionally put it onto paper
Yep.
and craft something.
Like true art,
It's true art.
true expression.
I don't have that. I have art for the sake of art
Yeah.
in writing and,
Yeah.
and whatever, but I don't have pen to paper
Just
creating pure. Yeah.
unadulterated. No.
It is the thing that I love, I think, the most. I would give up. God, that's a good question. I would give up, at least temporarily. I would give up writing for that. Just
technical
to
to artistic.
yeah, I think I would. Just to see what it would feel like to have a visual expression rather than a verbal expression.
Yeah.
Because I word all day.
Yeah.
And what would it be like to have the challenge of expressing what's in between my ears in a more actual artistic sort of way than it would be just words.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I would be terrible at it either way. I think I would still be bad at it.
Well, it'd be a talent you're trading, so you'd be good at it.
It's fair.
Right. That's the.
I
that's
don't.
the paradigm,
I can't fathom it
paradoxal.
though. Like
Yeah.
that's the other thing. I can't fathom how well people do in that. realm. What was the answer? What would the answer you give?
For me,
Yeah.
I mean, I do also believe, if it wasn't for this, right? I think about singing, dancing, drawing, painting, something.
Yeah.
Those are my paramount three. Like the times that I cry the most, and it's because the way they formulate their shows of American Idol and America's Got Talent, their storytelling is terrible but great at the same time.
100%.
And then they get the golden buzzer, and then
Yep.
it's their friends or their family or their fiance or the guy that won American Idol, I think last year, was like a 55-year-old janitor and sung "Don't Stop Believing,"
Yeah.
and it was just like holy hell. And like, dude looked like a guy that could be homeless at some point in time, and then it's the feelings of wow, like somebody else believed in them, they believed in themselves, they were seen and heard for that.
Yeah.
So I do think that I do share some of that aspirational stardom of yourself. I do think that I don't perform the best in my actual like brain receptors, or like that would be cool, but we actually don't really want that. And especially when I was on tour with that artist NF and shooting like Post Malone and like Morgan Wallen and all these other artists, I get that bit like a lot because I also felt that rush, but it was a rush that I didn't have to have the responsibility.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
the
the
thing.
dude that with the camera that was behind the scenes in the
Yes.
green room. I was hanging out with the Capitol Records executives. I was on stage, but I also wasn't the act on stage, and I was hanging out wherever I wanted to. And I get like the rush of you do a show, you come down, you drive, you wake up, you get ready, you do the show, and you rinse and repeat. And I mean, after I got off that tour, very unique mental psyche to exist within for 45 shows and 60 days across the US and Canada, that I was like, I hated that and I loved it at the same time. And I also want to get back out there really badly, but also like F that.
Yeah, I know.
So I think for me, singing would be like an innate ability that I think one of my greatest trade-offs, I think, is, you know, the ability to just like believe in myself, as I've probably had to most of my life.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, 'cause it is hard to visualize, which makes that a great question.
I know.
Like, 'cause you can't, it's not a talent you have, and you know you have talent that you do have, and it's comfortable, and you want to trade it or don't want to trade it. But the question proposition.
It's so funny that you had that same sort of experience on stage where you came off and you're like, okay, great, I get to do that again, and I don't have to have the downtime with it. And I think part of the showmanship on being on stage or performing or being like, you know, you win an award or do kind of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think I think one of the challenging parts on entrepreneurship, especially when you do a great project, is that you're lauded for it, right? So you come off stage, for example, like I'll do that too, where I'll come off stage after doing like a 2-hour bit,
Right.
and you know, 4 or 5 people come up and they'll just say, "Oh, it was amazing. That was really good," and then everybody leaves, and then you're left with, I just poured 2 hours of everything I had on stage, and I have no one to download with.
Yeah.
And you're like, what
You're
in
just
the
stuck
hell?
with it for.
Now I got to process
Yeah.
a whole piece immediately alone.
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't really want to talk about it, but I have nobody else to talk about it with. And I think that where that performance-based kind of thing is the most lonely piece of the puzzle. Everyone thinks like, oh, that's great, you get to be on stage and get to talk and whatever. I go, yeah, it is. But it is the most horrifying, lonely piece afterwards, because like there's no one else to like talk about what you already experienced. Like you got to film everyone on stage. Who else? Who are you going to talk about that with?
No one else
Like
can.
look what I saw, or look what I captured.
Yeah. No one else is going to get it.
No one's
for a
going to get
different
it.
reason.
Yeah, and then you just got to live with that now, and that's kind of the downer
Yeah.
piece of it. And you're gonna go, all right, well, I need to go find that injection into my veins again.
Yeah.
Or go to another show.
Right. Well, we're going to end there, but Patrick, before you leave, we're going to have you write a question for the next guest that I won't see until I read it.
I love it.